does the power supply or the driver limit the length of LED strip? Now we're back onto LED strip here. Now we do go over this quite a lot, and no, simply, in short, the driver or power supply does not limit the length of the LED strip. The printed circuit board that the LEDs are attached to, the surface mounted diodes are attached to, is what limits the length of the LED strip. A 12 volt longest length is 5 meters. However, we have a 12 volt here that the longest length it can go to is 3 meters because it's 28.8 watts per meter. It's a very high wattage. So do your homework. Check, look, find out. What's that strip? How long will it go? Right? Most manufacturers of 12 volt strip, 12 volt DC strip, on average, the longest length is about 5 meters. Okay, 24 volt strip, yeah, look, we can go up to 10 meters. 24 volt RGB, RGBW, yes, 7 meters. Again, it comes back to how it's constructed. It's on a copper printed circuit board, flexible printed circuit board. That has the only limitations on that are its current carrying capacity. Okay, so that's why we say 5 meters, 10 meters, whatever we stipulate, that's why we say it, is because of how it's designed. Okay, you can get some that go up to 50 meters, but that's 124 volts. So by increasing the voltage, I actually lower the current. Okay, so it's not the driver, it's not the power supply, it's the design of the LED strip. So just remember that. Doesn't matter if you go and put the biggest driver you can find on the end of that, it's not going to make any difference if you've got too much. All right, what we're going to have a look here is, we're going to have a look at a bit of voltage drop. Now, we have gone over this before and we'll continue to go over it, but if you've done part one, yeah, we just went through it with our fire hoses, but we're going to go through it again, purely because it's one of the important factors and people get it so wrong. We just need to get it to a point where everyone understands, and it's a simple fix. That's all we need to make sure is that people understand. Okay, does the driver limit the length of cable? Now, when we're talking about cable, we're talking about this. From the end of that LED strip, so here's a bit of LED strip with a cable on the end of it. Does it limit the length of this cable? No. Again, it does not limit the length of the cable. What limits the length of that cable is voltage drop. You know, voltage drop is the decrease of electrical potential along the path of a current. So this is my fire hose. Look back here. This is my big fireman's fire hose along here. Here's my garden hose. I've got 100 litres a minute coming out of there. I've got 15 litres a minute coming out of there. So at 3 meters, yeah, I've got 12 volts. But at 5 meters, I've got 11.5, and I'm going down at 7 meters, I've only got 10.5. But look at this one, because I've got such a big cable, 7 meters, I've still got 12 volts, and at 15 meters, I've still got 12 volts. It's really important that you take that into consideration. This doesn't affect that, or doesn't affect the limit of the length of this cable onto that LED strip. It simply doesn't. This is the limiting factor, and this is the cable that goes between the driver and the LED strip. Okay, those that do underground reticulation, high-rise buildings, sheds, things like that, we all do voltage drop for 240 volt, 415 volt, domestic installations, commercial installations. We all do it for that, but for some reason we find it really difficult to do a voltage drop calculation for 12 volt, 24 volt, 32, 36 volt. All right, we have to start doing voltage drop calculations. It'll solve a lot of our problems, and it will also increase the life of our LED strip. At the completion of this, you'll find a link to our voltage drop calculator. Please feel free to click on that, upload it. It's an Excel. Put it onto your computer, and that way, if you ever need to do it, it utilizes our cables, but it also has other cables in there and we stipulate the square millimeter of the cable, so you know what one you're going to be using to get the correct voltage. We have all of our LED strips listed in there, and basically it comes down to you putting in the length and the length of tails, the length of your LED strip and the length of the tail that you plan on using. All right, so that's a very, very simple, and it's an Excel spreadsheet which you can download and put on your own computer. Very quickly, that's the formula. There is a fixed factor in there, which is a 0.017. That's based on DC, and that's based on DC cables. All right. Okay, we've done some sample calculations for you. Please have a look at those. I mean, you can see in the first one there, we've got our 12 watt RGBW. So we've got 5 meters of that. It's 60 watts over 12 volts, which gives us 5 amps. We're asking for 10 meter tails, and we're using a 0.32 millimeter cable. So basically at the end of it, we've got 2.66 volts DC drop. So we're only going to have, at the end of that cable, 9.34 volts. It's going to cause us a problem. We're going to have a very, very dull LED strip. Okay, have a play with it. Get a bit of information around it. Work out, do some designs. As we move through, you'll be doing some designs, and we'll ask you for longer tails, and then you can come back to us. But have a look at that. It's really important.